Hello, it's Carly from Learn English with Carly here, and today you find me in Capilano River Regional Park here in North Vancouver, BC, Canada. How are you today? Do you study English a lot? Where do you study? Is it fun? You work hard, don't you? So many questions. This video is your complete guide to forming and answering simple present tense questions in English. Let's get started. You can form questions in English in 3 ways. Firstly, you can form yes/no questions, also called closed questions. Do you like chocolate? We can also form questions with question words such as where, why, who, what, when, how, etc. Where do you live? How are you? Who is that? The third way that we can form questions is using tag questions. You play the piano, don't you? Maria doesn't know yet, does she? It's cold, isn't it? Forming questions can all be affected by tense, but today we will look at forming the simple present tense questions. Firstly, it's important to show you how forming questions in the present tense in English is a pattern to learn and to follow. There are 4 parts to this pattern. The first thing you need, if you want to use one, is a question word. This is optional. Sometimes we need a question word first and sometimes we don't. But if we're using one, put it first. The second thing you need is an auxiliary verb. An auxiliary verb is always needed. It is our helping verb and it will either be a conjugated form of to do, to be, to have, or even a modal verb such as can, should, or may, for example. The third thing we need is our subject, our person, such as I, you, he, she, it, we, or they. And the fourth thing we need is our main verb. This could be any verb, just make sure it's in the infinitive. I'm going to teach you how to follow this pattern without a question word first of all. We will come back to those later. Let's take a look at how we form questions using the auxiliary verb do or does. Before we do so, I'm going to recap the conjugation of the verb to do. We have I do, you do, but he, she, or it does. We do, you all do, this is our you plural, and they do. Okay, let's now have a look at the word order for do and does questions. The first thing we need is the auxiliary verb do or does. Then we need our subject. Then we need our main verb. And finally, anything else. For example, do you watch TV every day? Does he watch TV every day? Let's check that we know when to use do or does with these 6 questions. Fill in the gap with do or does. Number 1, do we say, do or does you like chocolate? Correct, it's do you like chocolate? And the second one, do or does Carly work on Saturdays? Correct, does Carly work on Saturdays? Carly is a she, so we use the she form. Question 3. Do or does it rain a lot in Vancouver? That's right, we have to use does. Question number 4. Do or does you live with your family? That's right, do you live with your family? Whether you're asking one person or a group of people, we still use do you. 5th question, Do or does your dog enjoy the park? Exactly, we have to use does here because your dog is a he or a she. So remember to use the third person singular. Number 6, do or does we need milk? Correct, we have to use do here. Do we need milk? Okay, we know how to use our do or does. So let's follow the pattern and build some questions together. Remember, without a question word, we need number 1, do or does. Number 2, our subject. Number 3, our main verb. And number 4, anything else we have left in our sentence. Can you put the following sentences in the right order? Number 1, do like you sailing? Okay, so first we need our do or does, so do. Then we need our subject, you. Then we need our main verb, like. And finally, anything else, so our sailing. Do you like sailing? Got it? Let's try another question. Number 2, your sister does in the shower sing? That's right. Does your sister sing in the shower? We're following the 4 stages to be able to form our simple present tense question using do or does. Number 3, listen to music, do and you. Correct. Do you listen to music? Question 4, traveling, do your parents enjoy? That's right. Do your parents enjoy traveling? Question 5. Snow, it does in your country? That's right, you've got it. Does it snow in your country? You're doing great. You've got the pattern and the correct word order now. Let's try and build questions from these sentences. My first sentence is, they smoke. How will we build the question following our 4 stages? Okay, we need a do or a does. In this case, our subject is they. So we will say, do they. Do they, followed by our main verb, smoke. Do they smoke? Our second sentence, let's try some more. Carly teaches English. I want to make this a question. That's right. Does Carly teach English? Number 3. Robert works in an office. Let's make this sentence a question. Does Robert work in an office? Number 4. Harry plays football. Let's make this sentence a question. Does Harry play football? And number 5. We need more apples. Let's make this sentence a question. Do we need more apples? You've really got this. Okay, your homework at this point is to write me 3 or 4 do or does questions in the comments box below to practice this. I look forward to reading and replying to your questions. Okay, on that note, if you haven't subscribed already to Learn English with Carly, please do so now. I really appreciate it. How do we answer do or does questions? There are several ways that we can answer these questions, but as they will only offer yes or no answers, we call these closed questions. Let's have a look at some questions and the possible answers we can give. Let's take a look at the question, do you like horror films? We can answer, yes. Yes, I do. Yes, I do like horror films. Or simply, Yes, I like horror films. Notice how we write a comma after yes. But what about negative answers? Do you like horror films? No. No, I don't. No, I don't like horror films. You'll notice that we also write a comma after no as well when we write these answers. In the negative, we contract the do and the not to don't, and then the does and the not to doesn't. This is very, very common in speech. Let's take a look at another question and possible answers. Does your brother eat sushi? If we want to answer positively, yes. Yes, he does. Yes, he does eat sushi. Or, yes, my brother does eat sushi. We can also omit the does in our answer. We can say, yes, he eats sushi. Yes, my brother eats sushi. What about in the negative? No. No, he doesn't. No, he doesn't eat sushi. No, my brother doesn't eat sushi. Okay, thank you to those who have already subscribed and for the wonderful supportive comments. By subscribing, liking and commenting, I know that you're enjoying the content and engaging with the aims of this channel, so thank you. Okay, we've looked at the auxiliary verb to do, but let's have a look at have with got, because this is often used instead of do or does, even though the question means the same thing. Firstly, let's check that we know the conjugation of to have. I have, you have, he, she or it has, we have, you all have, and they have. The pattern that we use to form questions with have or has is the exact same as do or does, but we often use got as the main verb. So place it in the third position. Okay, so this time our auxiliary verb is have or has, followed by our subject, our person. Then our base verb this time is got, and then anything else afterwards. Have you got a cat? Has she got a cat? I just want to add that have you got a cat is the exact same as do you have a cat. They mean the same thing. So therefore you can use either question and you will still get a yes or no answer. Let's have a look at another example. Has Michael got homework today? 4 stages. We use our auxiliary verb, in this case has, then our person, Michael, then our base verb or main verb, got, then anything else. Homework today? This is the same as does Michael have homework today? How do we answer this question? Yes. Yes, he has. Yes, he has got homework today. We can also contract the he has to he's. Yes, he's got homework today. Or we can use Michael's name in our answer. Yes, Michael's got homework today. Again, notice the contraction here of Michael and has to Michael's. And in the negative, no. No, he hasn't. Again, this is a contraction of has and not to form hasn't. No, he hasn't got homework today. Or we can use Michael's name in our answer. No, Michael hasn't got homework today. We can also use this exact same pattern to ask questions using modal verbs. We put our modal verb in first position as it's our helping verb, our auxiliary verb. Can I open the window, please? Can is our auxiliary verb. I is our subject. Open is our main or base verb. And the window, please, is our anything else. May I sit here? Should we leave early? We still have our exact same pattern of auxiliary helping verb, subject, main verb, and anything else. Let's have a go at putting these modal verb questions back in the correct order. Number 1, we can later meet. Use that same pattern. Can we meet later? Number 2, bring should a coat they. That's right, should they bring a coat? Number 3, may come in we. Good, may we come in? Number 4, drive Emily can. You've got this. Can Emily drive? Number 5, would like a cup of tea you? Would you like a cup of tea? And number 6, shall stop for a rest we? Great work. Shall we stop for a rest? How do we answer the question? Should they bring a coat? Again, it's a yes/no answer question. So we can say yes. Yes, they should. Yes, they should bring a coat. And in the negative, simply no. No, they shouldn't. No, they shouldn't bring a coat. Now, there is one other auxiliary verb that we need to know in order to ask questions, and that is the auxiliary verb to be. This does work slightly differently to do, have, and our modal verbs. Study these 2 questions. Okay, we have, are you from England? Is Vancouver a nice city? This time we use number 1, our auxiliary verb, our helping verb, in the correct form of to be. Number 2, our subject. And number 3, anything else. Note that there is no main verb. Firstly, let's recap the conjugation of the verb to be in the present tense. I am, you are, he, she, or it is, we are, you all are, and they are. Let's build questions from the following sentences. My first sentence says, I am late. How will we build a question from this sentence using our 3-step approach? Auxiliary verb, subject, anything else. Am I late? What about the second question? It is cold in Canada. It's certainly cold today. Remember, auxiliary, subject, anything else. Is it cold in Canada? My third sentence says, my eyes are blue. Make this a question. Are my eyes blue? Number 4, the books are on the shelf. Let's make this a question. Are the books on the shelf? And number 5, my lipstick is red. Let's make this a question. Is my lipstick red? Well done. How do I answer the question? Are you from England? Most of the time I would probably just answer yes or yes I am. But we can answer with a longer sentence, yes I am from England, or the contracted form, yes I'm from England. How do I answer the question, are you from Germany? No. No, I am not. Or the contracted form in speech is more common, No, I'm not. No, I'm not from Germany. What about using there is and there are in asking and answering questions in the simple present tense in English? Let's look at two questions using there is and there are. Is there a hospital near here? Are there apples on the tree? You'll notice that we put the is or the are in first position, as this is our auxiliary verb, followed by there and then the rest of our question. Is there a UFO in the sky? Are there any leaves on the tree? How would you answer these questions? Is there a UFO in the sky? Yes. Yes, there is. Yes, there is, or there's, contracted form, a UFO in the sky. And in the negative, no. No, there isn't. Remember that isn't is the contracted form of is and not. No, there isn't a UFO in the sky. And the question, are there any leaves on the tree? Yes. Yes, there are. Yes, there are leaves on the tree. And in the negative, no. No, there aren't. Remember that aren't is the contracted form of are and not. No, there aren't any leaves on the tree. One extra point that I'd like to make here is forming negative questions in the simple present tense, as they have a slightly different word order. Take a look at the following examples. Do you understand? This is a positive question, as we know with a yes/no answer using the pattern we have learnt for asking questions without a question word. However, a negative question such as, do you not understand? This time we have the auxiliary verb plus the subject followed by the not and then the verb. Okay? So, do you understand? Our normal question pattern, but in the negative, do you not understand? Compare this to, don't you understand? Again, this is a negative question, but this time with the contracted form of the auxiliary verb, the not contracted to nt, followed by the subject and then the main verb. Watch out for these in their contracted and non-contracted forms. Let's see a different example. Do you like pizza? This is our positive question. Do you not like pizza? This is our uncontracted form with not in third position. Don't you like pizza? This is our contracted form with the not in first position with the auxiliary verb. Be aware of where the not goes in each of these negative questions, depending on whether you use the contracted form or not. You can do the same with the verb to be. Are you hungry? This is our positive question. Are you not hungry? This is our negative question in its uncontracted form with our not in third position. Aren't you hungry? This is our negative question in its contracted form with our not combined with the verb in first position. We can also do the same with our modal verbs such as can. Can you take the dog out? This is our positive question with a yes/no answer. Can you not take the dog out? This is our negative question in its uncontracted form. The not is in third position. Can't you take the dog out? This is our negative question in its contracted form. The not is in first position along with the verb. When do we use negative questions? We can use negative questions when we think that the information is true and we expect people to agree. Don't you think climate change is worrying? We can also use this to show surprise or disbelief. Isn't Christina getting married anymore? And to show annoyance or anger. Oh, can't you drive faster? Okay, we answer negative questions as we would with a yes/no closed question. Don't you like pizza? No. No, I don't. no, I don't like pizza. Or, yes, yes, I do. Yes, I do like pizza. Or in my case, yes, I love pizza. Well done. We have managed to practice the first way to ask and answer questions in the English simple present tense. Let's move on to our second way. The second way that we can form questions in English is using question words, also called open questions, as they give more information than yes or no answers. Let's recap English question words and look at their use. Where? Use where to ask about places. Where do you live? When? When do you leave for London? Use when to ask about time, whether this is days, months, years, seasons. What? What do you know about English questions? Use what to ask about things. What time? Use what time to ask for a specific hour or time phrase. What time do you leave for work in the morning? Who? Always use who with people or groups of people. Who do you think will win the World Cup? Why? Why do you like Canada? Use why to ask about reasons. Which? Use which for nouns and a small number of possibilities. Which do you prefer, the red or the green jacket? There's an eagle flown above my head. Whose? This is an interesting question word, as we always use whose with to be or have got. Whose jacket have you got? Whose jacket is this? Use whose to ask about possession or ownership. When we use this question word, you'll notice that we put the word jacket, our noun, second, instead of the auxiliary helper verb. How? Use how to ask about manner, the way people do something. How do you knit? How much? How much does it cost? Use how much for quantity and amounts, especially prices. How many? How many do you have? Use how many for quantities and amounts. How often? Use how often to ask about frequency. How often do you go to the gym? Using question words is easy, as we're going to use the exact same construction as we did with our yes/no answer questions with do or does, but we will place the question word or words in first position. Take a look at my chart. In first position, we put the question word. And actually, the rest of the chart is exactly the same as before. This time, second is our do or does, followed by our subject, then our base verb or main verb, and then anything else at the end. For example, where do you watch TV during the week? When does he watch TV during the week? Let's compare. Do you watch TV? With where do you watch TV? The first question offers a yes/no answer. In this case, yes. The second question, where do you watch TV, requires more information in our answer. I watch TV in the living room. Let's look at another example. Does she always go skiing in winter? Again, this offers only a yes/no answer. So if I ask, where does she go skiing in winter? More information is required. She goes skiing in the Alps. Let's practice forming questions with question words and the do or does. Here are 5 sentences coming up that are all jumbled, and I want you to put them in the right order. Number 1. Do your parents wear and live? Let's put them back in the right order. Where do your parents live? Number 2. His sister know, how, do and you. Let's put the sentence back in the right order. How do you know his sister? Number 3. You watch TV, how often do? Well done, you've got this. How often do you watch TV? Number 4. What he does for breakfast eat? Yay, that's right. What does he eat for breakfast? And last one, number 5, put the sentence back in the right order. Does where work your wife? You've got it. Where does your wife work? The same pattern as we had before, but just put the question word at the beginning. Let's now try to form questions from these sentences. The first one we'll do together as an example. I want you to ask your neighbour where they work. So we need our question word, our auxiliary verb, in this case will be do, our subject, you, as we are talking directly with our neighbour, and then finally our main verb. We don't have anything else to add. So we have, where do you work? Okay, try number 2 yourself. I want you to ask your friend how often they play guitar. Follow the same pattern. Okay, you should have, how often do you play guitar? Question 3. Formulate a question from this sentence. Ask your friends when they eat breakfast. Your friends, be careful. Okay, you should have, when do you eat breakfast? Okay, our friends are still you plural, but in English this isn't so difficult because it doesn't change the verb ending. When do you eat breakfast? You could also say, when do you all eat breakfast, if you wish to add that. Question 4. I'd like you to ask your work colleague what they do at the weekend. What do you do at the weekend? This time we need 2 do's. We have our do, our auxiliary helping verb, and then our do is also main verb. So this is correct, and we can use 2 do's in one sentence. Finally, question 5. I would like you to ask your sister what time she comes home from work. That's right, we have, what time do you come home from work? Well done. Now it's time for your second homework. I would like you to write 2 or 3 questions for me in the comments box using the question word plus the do or does construction. Let's now have a look at how we form questions using a question word, but this time have and got. This time our auxiliary verb is have, and we use got as our main or base verb. Take a look at my chart. We have our question word in first place, our have or has in second place, our subject in third place, our base verb got in fourth place, and then anything else in fifth place. When have you got your English lesson? Remember, this is the same as asking, when do you have your English lesson? Both of these questions mean the same thing. Which have they got? The red or the green? What has that boy got on his face? Apply the exact same pattern with question word, helper auxiliary verb, subject, base verb, and anything else. When we wish to form questions with a question word and then the verb to be, we put the question word first, then the correct conjugation of to be, am, are, or is, then the subject, and finally anything else. Where are you from? Where is he from? Who is the Prime Minister of Canada? Where are my keys? How are you? All of these use this construction. How do you answer these questions though? Let's take a look at the question, where are my keys? We have to give information, so we could say simply, on the table, or your keys are on the table, or perhaps even, I don't know. What happens when we have a preposition in our question? Let's have a look at some examples. Where are you from? What is your project about? Who is the letter for? I'm sure you've worked this out for yourself, but when we use a preposition with question words such as who, what, or where, we put preposition word at the end of the question. What happens when we answer these questions? Where do you come from? I come from England. What is your project about? My project is about climate change. Who is the letter from? The letter is from my friend. In our answers, as you can see, the preposition is placed after the verb. Okay, that's it with our second way of forming questions with question words. The third way that we can form questions in English using the simple present tense is using tag questions. We use tag questions to confirm information or to ask for agreement. You like English, don't you? It's a lovely view from here, isn't it? We can learn lots together, can't we? Question tags are basically mini questions placed at the end of a statement. We use an auxiliary verb such as do, have, or is, or a modal verb such as can in our question tag. Notice that the pronoun, though, matches the statement. You live in Vancouver, don't you? Liz sings, doesn't she? You're a teacher, aren't you? Mick's a vegetarian, isn't he? You can come to the party, can't you? What do you notice about the question tag in comparison to the other verb in each statement? Normally we use a negative tag with a positive statement. English is fun, isn't it? Positive statement, English is fun. Isn't it? Negative tag. We also use a positive tag with a negative statement. Traffic isn't fun, is it? Negative statement, traffic isn't fun. Is it? Positive tag. Basically use the opposite. You'll also notice that a question tag is usually a contracted form. So is not becomes isn't. Doesn't is used instead of does not, for example. The meaning of a question tag can depend on how you say it. If your voice goes up, then it's a real question and the listener wants to hear your opinion. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? If your voice goes down, then you expect the person to agree with you and you're confirming their opinion. It's a beautiful day, isn't it? Listen out for that difference. Let's practice some question tags. What question tag would you use in the following gaps? Choose from the list here. The coat is expensive. Something it. You'll see that I've left the pronoun here. Which tag can you put in this gap? The coat is expensive, isn't it? Number 2, the new teacher likes you. Something he. The new teacher likes you, doesn't he? Number 3, the neighbor doesn't like us. Something she. The neighbor doesn't like us, does she? Number 4, Sherry's very pretty. She. Sherry's very pretty, isn't she? Number 5, we can go to the cinema later. We. We can go to the cinema later, can't we? Number 6, question tags are easy. They. Question tags are easy, aren't they? Number 7, Simon isn't a good singer. He. Simon isn't a good singer, is he? Number 8, you love cake. You. You love cake, don't you? Number 9, there's a lot of traffic today. There. There's a lot of traffic today, isn't there? And number 10, we have just one question tag left. You can use question tags, can't you? My voice went down. I expect you to agree with me. Okay, there are 2 exceptions to the question tag rule in English in the present tense that I want to show you, and that's using let's and I'm in the first part of our sentence. Let's go, shall we? After let's, we use shall as the question tag. Let's go for a walk, shall we? I'm a teacher, aren't I? Now here we use aren't instead of am I not as the question tag. You can use am I not. I'm a teacher, am I not? It just sounds very, very formal. And in our everyday English, we usually use aren't I as the tag question instead. I know this sounds a bit strange for you guys, but go with it, it's correct. Okay, that's it. We have 3 ways that we can ask and answer present tense questions in English. Your homework is to write as many present tense questions to me as you can using any or all of the 3 forms that we've looked at today, and I'll be sure to answer the questions for you. I do have a final question for you guys though. Do you have any further questions about asking and answering present tense questions in English? If so, please do let me know by writing a comment, and of course I'll get back to you. Thank you so much for joining me today at the beautiful Capilano River Regional Park, and I look forward to working with you again very soon. Take care, bye. How do you answer these questions though? Let's take a